Okay, so here we go. We're playing in Turin Faction War. Taking it nice and easy. We're up against the green skins. And I have a slightly different build from what I usually bring. It's not going to be a gun build, it's going to be a Silostra one. And we have a bunch of gun bats too. Pretty not normal when it comes to me. But it works. It pays to be a little bit, to play a little bit differently every once in a while. We have a bunch of deck dropper handguns to support, and they'll be killing out single entities here. Silostra, while good against single entities, or while decent, is not amazing. She'll lose to Grom in a 1v1, I believe. So it's important that we have a little bit of backup to actually keep her safe. My signature Scurvy Dogs too will be taking up the back. And we're going to be relying on our bombers to do some work here. We should be able to shut down an archer build. And if it's a rush, we have a bunch of guns too. We have the Lamprey's Revenge along the flanks, same with some Mourngulls. We should be in a pretty nice place. As, yeah, for a lot of orcs and other green skins. Should be able to snipe out a lot. Let's see, it's going to be a River Troll Hag leading the front. Of course, Grom the Paunch. And a lot of archers, actually. Which means that our rush should work out quite effectively. So feeling decently confident. We'll just march on right up. Bring in our bats. And I guess snipe out this River Troll Hag. We'll get nice and close to her to actually begin sniping more effectively. And should work out. Let's see here. She's going to be juking and trying to dodge to the best of her ability. But will it be enough? Possibly. Looks like most of the shots actually missing here. But a decent amount hitting too. That Spirit Leech does a lot of damage to my bats though. And we don't have any healing. So I think he actually traded up there. And we're going to bring back the bats just to keep them a little bit safer. Silostra should make sure that she advances too. We're going to be rushing as hard as we can to really shut down these archer boys. They are pretty scary. They're setting up a pretty solid concave, but we have Mourngulls that can collapse in along the flank. Here, let's put these guys on one so I can micro them a little bit better. And let's see, we also have to be careful that our bats don't get killed by these archers. A little bit of dodging manages to avoid most of the archer fire, which is good. And we're going to have them shooting these savage orcs. Silostra going to be, let's see here, passing in a bunch of spells, dodging shots as best she can. We're going to be bringing up our bombers to deal with the savage orcs. The Mourngulls are doing quite well. We're going to pull Silostra away before she dies to all these archers. Knights Errant summon. Work out pretty well. We have the zombies collapsing in. It's just really important that we keep Silostra safe here. We will, let's see here. We're going to cast a big ol' spell right here. Catch out the skirmishers. And continue advancing with our front line. Our zombies have progressed nicely. And the reason we focus these savage orcs with the bats is so that we can buy time for our infantry to actually run amok in the back lines. The Mourngulls are doing quite well too. And now we can move the gun bats to pressure out Grom the Paunch. Move in Silostra too. We have enough disruption here where we're not too worried. Mourngulls are doing quite well also. And now we can bring in our Scurvy Dogs to get in some damage. So, Scurvy Dogs should be getting in soon. Our bombers have done quite well. Silostra's doing good. And we've routed off the front line, which is oh so important here. I think we misplayed our engagements a tiny bit, especially with the Scurvy Dogs, but nevertheless, things are still going okay. Silostra will be rampaging across the back lines. Chased off a lot of the forces of the greenskins, and if we can snipe out Grom the Paunch, then we'll be good to go. Routed off a lot of these troops and slow them down with the bats moving up. Grom It's going to have a little bit to worry about. He'll be getting shot up quite a bit. Our dogs are munching in on the Forest Goblins, Spider Riders, and Silostra. Still doing relatively healthy. We'll throw down another AoE over here. And continue moving up our gun bats so that we can take out Grom. Our dogs will chase off all of the goblins. And Silostra will be just running to safety. I think this rush build's working out pretty well. We still have to be a bit careful though. See, some orcs are coming back. And I feel like my dog play slipped up a tiny bit here, but nevertheless, Grom's still having a pretty hard time. The archers getting occupied by waves and waves of zombies. Very good that we killed those savage orcs. And let's see. How do we need to advance here? The scurvy dogs will be catching out as many troops as they can. Grom now getting extremely low on the verge of routing. We're going to focus fire him with the gun bats, as that is the best option to actually get him off to win the game here. The leadership of the greenskins is not really strong enough to sustain the loss of their lord. Once Grom dies, we're feeling much more confident. Some archers have recovered along the left side, but they're getting very well distracted by the many zombies that we have in play. So I think we're good. Scurvy dogs also quite healthy still. You can even use them to chase off these wolf archers. Grom is nearly dead, and it's just going to be escorting him off the map as soon as he routes. There we go, he routes. We'll send in our dogs to chase him. And then that should be a victory. The scurvy dogs will be able to do cleanup on the forces of my opponent. And yeah, for that we're good. River Troll Hag, she is actually keeping up the leadership here, and she looks to be escaping. Not the greatest, but nevertheless, even if she does manage to make it out, we can just finish off Grom here. We should be good. However, it looks like he may rally, actually building up some pretty nice distance away from my army. Our handguns, flying handguns too, are having a little bit of trouble. But if we can just chase off Grom here, then we'll be good to go. Let's see, our handgun bats are running low on ammunition. It's a little bit of a problem. And I think we're going to have to start pulling in our troops to regroup here. Let's see, yeah, we're going to have to regroup a bit. Get our dogs together, get our handgun bats together. And then just distract these archers with our mobility. We'll be able to do cleanup with the dogs in the late game. So that should be fine. Grom now off the battlefield. Means that all the leadership for the greenskins is relatively low. We can bring in the bats to snipe out the River Troll Hag. Silostra should be able to clean up the rest of these forces. Nevertheless, still pretty close. Have to worry a tiny bit here. And let's see, how's the River Troll Hag doing? Her leadership is low, and nice, we do actually manage to rout her off. So that's good. We'll make sure that she actually goes off the battlefield by having our bats chase her around. And but she's actually routing in a pretty nice direction for my opponent, which sort of sucks. But yeah, I guess she will rally. Not terrible. We'll have Silostra in the mix here in a second. We still have the scurvy dogs. They'll finish off these savage orcs. And then we'll regroup for the big engagement against the archers. Oh my gosh, we still have the Lamprey's Revenge. That's why the balance of power is so much in our favor. It turns out I've been forgetting units left and right. Nevertheless, we finally do remember them, and we'll bring them back. And it turns out we've actually been a lot more ahead than I thought I was. Despite some missed micros on my part, still managed to do pretty well. So, it's just going to be advancing towards my opponent as quickly as we can, bringing in the Lamprey's Revenge. Silostra will be coming in too. She has high enough armor where she doesn't have to worry about the arrows of the greenskins. As for the River Troll Hag, we'll snipe her out with our gun bats. And that should be a pretty swift route. Not to mention, we have scurvy dogs coming on in. And the River Troll Hag gets very close to routing. Just barely not, though. Going to cause some havoc on the greenskin backline here with the big, with the big ol' spell cast. Bring in the dogs, chase off the archers, and we have the bombers in the mix too now. Thylastra is actually pretty low though. She nearly dies, just due to my misplays, but the Lamprey's Revenge will surely be enough to carry out the victory here. Thylastra still at 100 HP, not even close. Yeah, it's going to be bringing in the Lamprey's Revenge to deal with the River Troll Hag, and a pretty nice victory. Despite the misplays, the advantage that we had from bringing in this type of build really just paid off there. And it looks like gonna be a pretty sweet victory for us. Still, the major misplay there was I moved in with my dogs really late. I actually forgot them until the late game, and same with the Lamprey's Revenge. The snipe on Grom was great, using our handguns to the maximum effectiveness. Look at that. 1500 damage value, even though they were getting spirit leeched. All of them still basically paid for themselves. Thylastra working out really good too as a disruption tool. So nice. But nevertheless, we still had a few misplays that we need to avoid in the future. Okay, so for our second game of the Faction War, set up our army against the mighty Alfredino, playing as the Tomb Kings. We've opted for a Cyrene Rush with 2 Gunnery Wights on foot. Pretty interesting to save money. This build revolves around giving Ushabti Great Bows no targets to hit. A little bit of a risk, but a calculated one, given the prevalence of Ushabti here. We have enough Cyrenes to dodge his magic damage fairly effectively. Cetra can chase them, but he can't kill them especially quickly. And to win the air fight, we have a bunch of flyers. Pistol gunnery mob in the back to fight off Carrion. So we have a safe place to retreat to. And once the Ushabti get compromised, we're going to focus fire them down with our deck droppers. If he doesn't have Ushabti, well then that's pretty bad. And based on the army size, it looks like he might not. But let's see how it goes. Good luck, have fun from Alfredino. And going on into the game, we're seeing a heavy infantry build from my opponent. But he even has Ushabti, so he's gone for infantry and Ushabti. Our goal is to scab scrat the front line. Hopefully win it out from there. Cetra, not on his chariot. That's a very good sign. Our Cyrenes can take over the far flank. And they're going to be advancing aggressively onto the archers. So with the Gunnery Wights, they're going to be firing away onto the Nehekar Horsemen. We'll be moving in our bats to deal with all of this cavalry. Let's see, Noctilus getting sniped out by Ushabti. We'll dodge with him, continue to rush up with our Cyrenes, and the gun bats will do well in this situation. Now, Cetra will use his AoE here. We'll have to be careful that the Cyrenes don't eat that in the face, so we're going to try spreading them out, get a better position. We're going to throw down a heal on top of them when possible, and continue rushing towards my opponent. It's the slow march of the zombies. It'd be pretty fun. Let's see here, the heal. Going down on top of the Cyrenes. We'll be holding pretty well. And we'll be able to take out the Nehekar Horsemen relatively easily. Noctilus will continue dodging, and the Gunnery Wights are giving their slow march forwards. Horsemen now getting compromised. Our Cyrenes moving in hot. What are these guys? Just skeleton warriors. That's a pretty good sign. So let's begin overwhelming Alfredino's front line. Be engaging with our zombies, moving in with the bats, putting them in a safe position, getting the Cyrenes into the cookie jar. Turin would put it. Continuing to dodge with Noctilus. We'll summon some zombies. Stop those guys over there. And our gun bats will continue fighting the Nehekar Horsemen. Gunnery Wights will be picking away at their targets. And here we go, scab scrap time. Position that like so. And we'll position this one like so. Should work out pretty well. Cyrenes are doing good. Our gun bats are doing okay, but they're taking a lot of archer fire. And let's see. Get a unit of pistol summons to start moving up. Gunnery Wights will be charging forwards. Disrupt the Ushabti. have a unit of pistol summons too. We're flanking with the Sirens. How are things going? I'm not entirely sure. Sirens have done some pretty good disruption. Gunnery Whites are doing quite well. And the front line is winning, which is what we were planning for. The gun bats will be flying to a safe position. Sirens will continue bothering those archers. We have a Wraith Storm that we can throw down. We'll hit up Cetra with it. This unit of Sirens is bogging down a lot of troops, which means that the gun bats can fly in. And nice, would you look at that, the front line fight has been secured. Gun bats are now flying in, and they're going to be targeting down, I guess, Nehekara Horsemen here. We have another summon that we can throw up in just a second. So that should be good. Our zombies are continuing to move up. And let's throw down a big heal on top of these two Sirens units. Oh god, misclick, but there we go. We throw it down. That should work out pretty well. Sirens continuing to disrupt the ranged formations of my units. Of my opponent's units. And let's see, the gun bats are going to be focus firing, I guess, the skeleton archers. Gunnery Whites will be giving their ammunition. And so far we've collapsed heavily on his troops. Noctilus should continue progressing forwards, however. I'm going to summon some zombies to shut down these archers. We want to really win this air fight. That's going to be the goal here. So yeah, killing off the archers is very important. Bringing in more Sirens to support. And the air game is looking pretty good. Now, more continued Scab Scraths will win the day. See here, our Gunnery Whites are in position to throw them down quite viciously. Hit up more archers like so. And we're not really worried about Cetra. He's a late game threat. That isn't much of a worry here. Let's see, meanwhile the Sirens are doing amazing, and we've given the Ushapti basically no targets here. Let's see, we'll throw down another heal onto Sirens. Noctilus is taking a lot of damage himself, but he's still doing okay. But we will want to heal him up eventually. As for the gun bats, done good. Done a lot of damage to these archers, that's for sure. Noctilus is having a bit of a rough time. But let's see, let's take stock of the situation. We still have Sirens available. They'll shut down the Ushapti. And Noctilus taking a lot of damage from Cetra. That could be a win condition for my opponent. But he doesn't have any magic damage, and the fact that we've spammed out Sirens is just absolutely great in that situation. Gun bats are doing well. They've hit up all of these archers. But Noctilus will be going down. That's pretty rough. We'll try and fit in one more summon from him, and he does. A valiant last stand. But he will be falling. Nevertheless, our gun bats are doing well. We've taken out many of the archers. We still have a lot of Sirens. Give more ammunition to these guys while we can. And let's see here, we'll pop it on the deck droppers. As for the archers, they're still getting hunted down by Sirens. That's going to be quite good for us. In fact, we actually have a lot of Sirens left. They'll be jumping in on top of these archers too. Nevertheless, loss of Noctilus. Never a great feeling. But the Gunnery Whites are going to be very hard to shut down. And we'll even use them to chase off the Ushapti. Let's see here. Deck droppers are doing quite well. Our summoned units of zombies are doing well. Guys, I think we might have done it. Going for that mass Siren build actually paying off. We'll throw down another Scab Scrath here to take out these archers real quick. Throw down our last Scab Scrath to deal with these skeleton warriors. And there we go. Wow, look at that damage. Absolutely amazing. Cetra can't really do much versus the Gunnery Whites. And we still have 3 units of Sirens. Absolutely amazing. I think we did it, guys. We went for a second rush build, and it has paid dividends. Now it's just diving in on top of Cetra. We have 3 gun units left. We can give them ammunition, keep them firing, and that will seal the fate of my opponent. We'll even pull back the Sirens before a big AoE comes down. And the Gunnery Whites can poke away at Cetra. Put in a lot of damage. More infantry crumbling away. And now we sit back and relax and enjoy the view. 2 Gunnery Whites firing. Cetra barely able to kill them. Oh man, nice. Yes, yes. Ah, it feels so good. It feels so nice to get the Vampire Coast back in action. There we go. It's a rush. It's deck droppers firing away all game. But the real heroes here were the Quad Sirens. That was really unfortunate for Alfredino. He had no real option to deal with them. And that worked out really well. The Ushopti didn't have any targets either. They did some damage to Noctilus because I misplayed, but it worked out really well. Scab Scraths, amazing. We'll be moving on to the semifinals. And here we go. We finally made it. We are in the quarterfinals up against Falcon himself. Going for a rush build up against his Dark Elves, Air Superiority, and Dog Superiority with Silostra, and a Foot Gunnery Wight with his spells. Falcon deploying along this side, and guess what? He went for Bolt Throwers. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. Yes! We have the Lore of Deep, Kraken's Pull, Tide Call, and if he clumps up his cavalry, this bad boy is going to win the game. His infantry, pretty weak, will lose to Morngulls, and our gun bats will be flying into position. So, Dark Riders, Dark Riders, Dark Riders galore, and 4 Bolt Throwers. This mad lad thought I was going to go for an artillery build, which means that we have won the first step that we needed to. We have a nice build against Falcon. This is actually pretty advantaged. And he doesn't have Harpies. Oh my gosh. You know what that means, guys? Our Fellbats are going to fly around, shut down his Bolt Throwers on the approach. This could not have gone better. We'll split up. We'll move our dogs along this left flank. You may be asking, why are you positioning the dogs on this flank when the Dark Riders are here? Because we have no backline to defend. No backline. Always pretty good. Falcon repositioning his defensive formation. We shall be repositioning ours too, just so that we don't get locked up by this wall over here. Bolt Throwers are advancing. And let's see, our dogs are going to be cycle charging his infantry. They do extremely well versus Dark Shards, and that's the goal. We're going to win the infantry fight. Scab Scrath, Silostra, spells. And after that, what does he have? Some Bolt Throwers. That is not a worry in the slightest. Now, I do think he does have Shades. And to make sure that they don't pop up and just start killing stuff, we're going to move up with our Scurvy Dogs and scout them out. We'll spread them, dodge any Bolt Thrower shots that come on in. Falcon has moved up very aggressively with his Bolt Throwers too. And our zombies are lagging behind a lot. Going to position so that they can better position themselves. We'll dodge these Bolt Thrower shots. And then in a second we can move in with Silostra. He is taking hits now. So it's sort of important that we advance. We'll have one zombie lagging behind, and that was actually a pretty nice maneuver. Start off with Falcon. He has a lot of cavalry, and there's where his money went. Repeater crossbows. Suddenly, things are looking scarier. There's no shades, it's repeater crossbows, but we have Fellbats, and the Fellbats could be our saving grace. We're dodging like madmen. We're in the zone. And let's see here. If we can just continue avoiding damage, then we'll be good to go. We have a pretty nice flank. Fellbats will continue to move in. Zombies moving up. Gunnery Wight 2. Silostra doesn't have healing though, so time is of the essence. Bolt Throwers are getting their shots in. We're dodging a lot. The Dark Shards are getting in position. Assassins revealing themselves. That's a little bit of a worry. But we have our bats. We can move them onto those repeater crossbows that may prove very useful. Our deck gunners will fly in. Our zombies are moving up, and Silostra can get the engage on soon. Bats should be able to shut down the repeater crossbows, at least pushing them back. But oh dear, Silostra's taking a lot of damage. Despite our best efforts to dodge, that's not exactly great. We will be getting hit by the assassins. But we have our gun bats flying in. Our deck droppers will be able our bats will be able to fly into. And now we're moving in with Silostra. Front line's moving in. Silostra's going in for the big engage. Let's see how this goes. It's a big fight coming in now. We'll dive in on top of those two assassins. hoping to clump up his army here. Our deck gunners are doing quite well. Assassins might get caught. Our dogs are over there. Where's my other unit of dogs? Back here. And throw down a scab scrap. That should work out quite well. And let's see, how are these assassins doing? If we can actually catch them out here, that may turn out to be a win. Deck droppers are doing quite well. And here we go. Big spell on top of those Dark Riders. And looks like we do manage to catch them. And that's overcast too. That's actually amazing for us. We're going to summon some Knights Errant to move in with the zombies into the back line. Oh my gosh, look at that damage. That's pretty sick. Silasra's taking a lot of damage though. We'll have to be careful with her. And the Gunnery White still moving up. We have a zombies pushing up too. Our gun bats are moving in, and we want to rout off as many of these cavalry forces as we can. Silastra 2 will continue to push up. Moringul's also Burning Head goes down, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Where are my dogs? Caught up over here. We'll pull them back to safety. But oh my gosh, that's a huge rout from Falcon. That is amazing. We'll continue pushing up the Silastra, and we'll cast as many spells as we can and chase these guys off. That is so important. Deck gunners are moving in. We'll send in the Scurvy Dogs too. Pull them along the flank to chase off the assassins. That's so important. How's Silastra doing? She will be falling, but not without a valiant effort. Okay, let's take stock of the situation. Bolt throwers are still operational, but we routed off many of these troops. Scurvy Dogs are doing great, chasing off units. Where's the other unit of Scurvy Dogs? Stacked up on top there. We'll split them up into different groups, move back with the deck droppers since they're very important for late game. Use our cavalry here to charge his lord. Scurvy Dogs will continue to run for their lives against Dark Shards while we finish off the bolt throwers. And how are my deck droppers doing? We only have one left. That's pretty scary. But if we keep just one alive, we'll be able to kill off his lord in the late game. That's not too much of a problem. Zombies now getting on top of the bolt throwers is great. But the Scurvy Dogs, they have to be careful. These Dark Riders are here, and they're diving in hot onto the dogs. Deck droppers, we only have one left. And we might just get kited out by Falcon here. So it's very important that we don't overextend. Move up with the Gunnery White and use him to snipe out these assassins. Dogs will be getting into a better position. And how are our gun bats doing? They're doing okay. He doesn't have a lot of ammunition, and we have a lot of zombies. That's going to be the main advantage here. Trying to use that to the best of our ability. And we're stopping him from remanning his bolt throwers. That's the goal to victory here. Big burning head. Thankfully, they are pistol mobs. And we're going to be grouping up our dogs together to a better position. Gunnery White will be firing too. And let's get these deck droppers underway. Scurvy Dogs have grouped up. They're at high HP. That is amazing for us. And the Gunnery White is looking fairly healthy too. So generally, pretty good. Pretty good. Moringul's on the left flank. We'll pull them to a safer position. Use the dogs to chase off Dread Spears. And oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This Gunnery White is gonna be a hero. You are a god amongst men, you wonderful, beautiful Gunnery White. Our deck droppers have infinite ammo because of them. So we can fire away without a care in the world. And that's gonna be winning us the game here. Oh my gosh, he can even snipe out the K-Knight Assassin. And we don't want to advance here. Falcon trying to pull me apart by positioning further back, but we just have to not overextend, and then we're in a pretty good place. The Dark Riders are moving up. They're going to be firing in on my deck droppers. We dodge, and it looks like we do manage to dodge effectively enough, but they don't do too much damage. We can slowly advance with our army, use our dogs to kill off the infantry. Oh my gosh, and we did it. Yes! 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 Oh baby, we beat Falcon! Today, with a rush build, with freaking Silastra Deerfa. Oh yes, hell yeah! Oh my gosh, yes! Oh my gosh, people are even getting banned because there's too many caps in chat. Yes! Oh yes! Yes, that's so good. Oh my gosh. Oh yes. Oh, that was so scary, but we did it. We kept the dogs alive, and in the late game we were in a beautiful situation. Silastra with Kraken's Pull when he grouped up his cavalry. Oh my gosh, overcast and destroyed. Wrecked and wonderful. And here we go. First game against Carl Harmon. It's the finals of the Faction War. We have a Vampire Coast build against his Lizardmen. He's brought many a Pterodon rider. Nakai the Wanderer. Taco, he did you well. We're going to be focus firing him with our cannons. Our dogs spot no skinks, so we'll pull them into the front line. And we're on Pterodon damage mitigation now. Pterodons are quite fearsome. We don't want them to be causing too much damage. He has a huge line of Saurus warriors, which means he doesn't have any skirmishers. Luther is fairly free to move about as he wishes here. The deck gunners we can position a little bit further back, and our scurvy dogs will be taking the left flank to rout off troops along the side over there. Nakai already taking some good damage to start off with. Luther will keep him safe, and we want to get our caster up to start putting in some summons. We'll pull back with our infantry just a tiny bit. Get our handguns in range. Our handguns are going to be moving up. Nice, we pushed back his troops just a tiny bit. We'll use a zombie summon to push back these skinks. And, oh, there are some skink skirmishers. Interesting, interesting. Now that we've pulled back, we can move forwards again with our bombers. That should work out pretty well. They'll be blocking up the Saurus warriors. Check the mini-map to see that nothing's coming in along the back line. And our guns are going to be focusing down the Pterodon riders. Deck gunners will be focus firing in. Forgot to put them on guard mode, but it looks like they are now. And Luther can now chase off those Pterodons. Zombies are holding the line quite well. Let's see, these bombers can move in. And let's see how this engagement goes. Pterodon's actually landing on top of my guns. We'll send in the dogs to munch on them. We're seeing mass routes from the Pterodon riders now. I think that's pretty good. However, the Saurus warriors are still here. We'll have to worry. We're pulling back with our caster to make sure that they don't start slipping through. But the bombers are doing great. Rock drop does come down, however. It's going to be hitting my handguns pretty hard. More Pterodon riders are flying on in. Nevertheless, have our zombie summons that will be casting. Fire into the flanks of my opponent. We routed off most of the Pterodon riders. You can charge these red crested with the scurvy dogs too. And now Nakai is moving on in. We're going to turn our guns to fire in on him. Get Luther ready. Dive in too. The handguns should be able to work out quite well there. Scurvy dogs will continue to punish the Pterodon riders. And Luther is moving in. We have our huge concave of guns firing in on Nakai. We'll throw down a buff to slow him down. And even though a Manticore summon has gone down, I don't think that'll be enough for my opponent. He dives in onto my caster. But we're seeing a mass rout on the center line of the Lizardmen. Poor Nakai also getting routed off. My caster is still doing well. Still have scurvy dogs, and I think that's going to be game. Let's summon yet more guns over here. We'll be focus firing the Saurus warriors and keeping the scurvy dogs as safe as possible. Our caster is getting knocked around by the Manticore, so she's actually not too worried. Just being a footlord means that you're generally pretty mobile, and the dogs are slowing it down too. It should be nice. Nevertheless, she'll need to throw down a heal on top of herself. And some troops are managing to slip through the lines. We'll shoot them up with our guns. Bringing our bombers over to the left flank, get our caster safe. And our deck gunners are going to focus fire the Saurus warriors. Now the Manticore does come in. Pretty scary. Nakai is off the battlefield. I repeat, Nakai is off the battlefield. And we're going to focus fire this Manticore to death. Cycle charge these Saurus warriors with dogs. That should rout them off. And the Manticore will be dying before it even times out. It actually rampages here into my guns. And it's a pretty clean win. There we go. Can't really go wrong there. It was a valiant rush, a valiant attempt. Nakai with his 0 damage value. That is very unfortunate. The Pterodon riders got shredded, just absolutely shredded by the volleys of gunfire. The bombers were supremely effective also. And that was just a pretty clean win. On to the next one. Nevertheless, we shall continue onwards. As I've said multiple times before, we generally don't give any leeway in these faction war tournaments. I usually play as hard as I can. In fact, almost always I'm playing as hard as I can. So, if anything, I am consistent. So it's going to be a similar style of build, except this time without the cannon. Still have 1,000,000 guns, as is the Vampire Coastway. And we have our deck gunners along the back. But this time we have to worry that he does not vanguard directly behind us, which is actually one of the banes of my existence. Vanguards in the back have always proved very useful against me, so we brought a unit of Sirens. We'll see if they are able to help us out here. Zombies to cover the flanks, as they should. We'll leave some in deep reserves here, since if he does take this left flank or the right flank, we will be ready to deal with that, no problem. Our deck gunners will be spaced out accordingly, so they're harder to shut down. And the scurvy dogs are gonna be scouting. I really like the initial scouting strategies with the scurvy dogs. It's generally a pretty nice way to start, as scurvy dogs, they're really good just keeping things in check to make sure that you have visibility. A mass chameleon skink flank would be pretty scary, but we'll turn our deck gunners to face them. If that does happen, we have our handguns. So I think that'll be just fine. This flank here is way too risky to take. We'll be able to turn many guns to face them down, if that does happen. And let's see, we just have to figure out our deck gunner positioning, and then I think we're good. This flank here along the forest is probably the roughest for me. So we want to move our deck gunners a little bit to the side so that they have more room to fire away. Count Noctilus should work out well too. And I think we are good. Good luck, have fun. Alright, here we go. Let's see if we can close out this faction war tournament cleanly. There's still a lot of opportunities for my opponent to win out the game here. So let's see. On to the second game against Carl Harmon. Playing Coast, we brought a similar build with Noctilus. It looks like he's gone for a Skink Rush. And that's always pretty fun. They'll be routing off fairly quickly, but we'll be using our guns to shut them down hard. Oh crap, I forgot my hotkeys. Okay, we're just gonna set that up real quick. Let's see, absolutely no problem. There we go, hotkeys are set up. And nice, always a bonus when you're able to do that nice and fast. We'll summon some zombies to hold up the Saurus warriors over here. Then we'll use our deck gunners, focus down the Pterodon riders. We have our bombers at the ready. And we don't really need to engage them right now. We're just firing away, using our handguns, keeping them effective. Zombies rushing in to defend the lines. The bombers now will be able to get in some devastating damage against the Saurus warriors. Let's see, what lord has he brought? I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to check in just a second. The handguns look like they'll be able to do quite fine. Noctilus will move up. We'll do the classic zombie summon into the back line. Brought a Slann Mage Priest of Fire. Burning Head comes down, does a lot of damage, but we're focusing down his Slann. Should work out quite well. We routed off a unit of Saurus warriors. Slann taking a lot of damage. Skinks moving into the back line. We have troops moving into support. Sirens onto the cohort of Sotek. Work out fine. And nice, this is why I take 3 scurvy dogs. They do really well against skinks. Noctilus can get in the fight too. Sirens are moving in. But the Slann is nearly dead. We've done quite effectively there. Let's see, he should be going down in just a second. Let's see here, but the front line is collapsing pretty rapidly. We'll have to be very aggressive with our dogs. And killing off the Slann is the most important priority here. Focus fire the Saurus as best as we can. With the guns, we'll use Noctilus to summon more zombies behind them. Make it really hard for them to engage. Cut off some cavalry too in the back. But he's charged with cavalry onto this side. However, we do have our dogs. They'll be moving into support. We can turn the deck gunners to fire. We still have terror from the skinks. It was a huge hit for the lizardmen losing their lord, And that leadership debuff is going to be playing dividends as we head on into the late game. The Skinks now getting routed off. Banshees still doing amazing. That's why you take them. They're really hard to kill. They can win against many fights of your opponent. And the Scurvy Dogs are still doing great. They've routed off and chased off 2 units. The Saurus are going down, just getting gunned down by our superior firepower. We'll even summon a unit of zombies over here so that our bombers can bomb them up. And the Scurvy Dogs, they'll be doing their thing. They're going to chase off the Saurus over there. They are quite effective. Our deck gunners will be retreating to safety. We'll throw down a heal on top of them to ensure that happens. And we'll close off the game with a summon behind these Saurus, shooting them in the back. These Scurvy Dogs are doing great. Charging into the backs of the Saurus. Pistol summons, still very powerful. And that's gonna be GG. But you look at that. We just won the faction war, guys. Ah, yes. Ah. We done did it, people. Pretty nice victory. We defeated Falcon. We beat another finals, and after the nerfs that came down on Vampire Coast, the handguns, they have less HP now, but they're still brutal and extremely scary. Nice. Taking a screenshot of the game. Close it out. Oh my gosh. Good games, Call Harmon. He did well. He did well. It's a rough matchup for the Lizardmen, though. A follow from Whiskey Sun.